You have to look at challenges as opportunities and embrace what you have. One of our challenges is our CT was failing. It was a significant need. We have to have that CT. That thing was like the most valuable equipment we had, aside from ultrasound. So I had a challenge because we had no power, we didn't have a CT, we had no room, nothing. But what we did is we called Philips Healthcare and said, we need a CT in a box. And it has to be HVAC compatible, it has to withstand the heat. They designed a spring-loaded CT in this box. Then I had to get the combat engineers to come out, and they built a platform to do HVAC, and then we stole a couple generators from our colleagues, and then we hid one of them underneath to make it a backup generator, and it cost us like thousands of dollars every day to run gas, but we stole the gas too, and it worked, you know? So we had a backup CT. We did that while we were waiting to build the hospital, because we were bringing a 64-slice CT into the theater. So it gave us a temporizing measure for 8 months that we had to really beg, borrow, and steal and make something work. And it worked out well. So I actually had the opportunity to be an integral part of building and bringing imaging to the new brick and mortar hospital, which opened in May of 2010. Now this hospital was a fixed facility, double the current capacity, and equipped with the most advanced imaging capability than in any US military hospital out in Afghanistan or Iraq, including a 64-slice CT. We put in a PAC system, digital radiography, interventional capable OR rooms, and elevating basically the standard of care to the current century, and basically ensuring the best possible care for our warfighters with world-class capabilities. This is what it looked like. Unfortunately, I never worked in the new hospital. We just built it, and by the time we built it, we opened it, and then I left. And so I talked to my colleagues. We eventually brought a magnet out into the theater. I actually was not an advocate of that, but was told we would do it, and so we did. And so we brought a magnet out there, and then I offered my physicist an all-expense-paid trip to the sands of Afghanistan. You can tell he wasn't very happy about it, but he did our acceptance testing for that. Just to show you the capacity. So this is the magnet. The generators were bigger than the magnet. You had a front generator and a backup generator because you had quenched the magnet, right? And it was a very difficult thing. You had to maintain it. So radiologists were the busiest specialists out there, hands down, more than the surgeons, because we took care of all the patients. We not only took care of Kandahar Airfield, we took care of the surrounding forwarded operating bases. We were integrated into the acute trauma team, so anytime the surgeons were there, the radiologist was there. We took care of all the inpatients, so we knew everything that was happening in the inpatient ward. And we took care of all the outpatients, and all those were separated by the other specialists, but we were there for every one of them. And so now we were responsible for every trauma case. The radiologist did a fast exam, and we were the ones who became the triage officers to let them know this guy needs to go to the OR because he's internally hemorrhaging, or he goes to the CT because we need the further evaluation. They became the most important asset that they had in triage, and they had no idea what a radiologist was when we first started. And not only that, remember, these are multinational medical units, so you acted as a consultant. So what happens when another physician or PA from another country goes, well, what do we do in this case? They go to the radiologist, because we were always there. What do we do? What's the next imaging study? What do we do? You know, so that we acted as consultants. A typical morning starts out like every other morning. A review of the events that happened the day before. This just shows you the summary of patients we had the day before. The immediate task of the day was usually to disposition these patients as quickly as possible to free up the beds in anticipation of new casualties. That was it. And this involved the coordinated movement of the medevac teams and safe flight out of theater as rapidly as possible. You know, each morning when I wake up, I open my eyes, I'm either exhausted from an all-nighter or very thankful I didn't have any immediate battle casualties in the last few hours, hoping for a period of tranquility, but it always felt like the calm before the storm. Because with certainty, the casualties will come. With certainty. You know, and a lot of times it's without warning. You have seconds, and we've had as many as 25 in one day. And remember, we only had 4 trauma teams. Think about that. Everyone stops what they're doing and gathers in an organized fashion into the trauma bay, and every person had a job to do. Our goal, 24 hours evacuation from theater, and we did that very well. I grabbed a quote from the orthopedic surgeon, giving it to outgoing person. Make friends with the radiologists. They are one of the most important assets. They have the finger on the pulse of everything in the hospital, and that was true. Anytime that was happening, the orthopedic surgeon would call me and say, "Ron, what's in the bay? What's in the bay? What's coming in?" I knew it all. I knew everything that was happening at the hospital. From this point forward, the radiologist became the medical director of the trauma center from that time to this day. So what is our problem? Since there are very few paved roads in Afghanistan, rebels can easily bury roadside bombs, undetectable by our soldiers. In fact, our insurgents are very smart and adaptive. They have responded to our increased presence of heavily armored U.S. vehicles with larger and more powerful bombs. They take these 15-ton MRAPs and blow them out of the sky, leading to our injury patterns that we see and traumatic brain injury. Make no mistake that roadside bombs and IEDs are the #1 killer in Iraq and Afghanistan. I rarely saw BBs and bullets. Rarely. They were all IEDs blown. Here's the other problem. I bet none of you can tell me who the enemy is, right? Everybody's carrying weapons. Some people are covering their face. Who's the Taliban? You have no idea. So you always had to have this heightened sense of awareness the whole day. And so that exhausts you because you had no idea what was happening. The other problem I mentioned is the treacherous terrain. Here's some Canadian colleagues bringing one of our casualties. You can't just take a car and drive, or an ambulance to drive out. Everything had to be air-evac out because you had these treacherous terrains, and it was too dangerous to go on the road. So that was part of the challenge. Here's the suicide bomber. Obviously, it was unsuccessful. We got him. But I want to also bring attention to this. This is called blast lung. Obviously, that was intentional for him. Blast lung is uncommon nowadays because we have armor. This guy obviously tried to blow up, and so he hurt himself pretty bad. Okay, this is not a difficult diagnosis. There's a ballistic in someone's head. But what the radiologist astutely identified is that this was an unexploded round. And if he did not identify that, many other people would have been injured. They called the ID team in, they defused the bomb, and then they also got that out. So that was written up in the New York Times, so it was just an interesting thing. So it was being a radiologist being astute about it to say, hey, there's more to the story than this. Unpredictably loud siren shriek, just like you hear. That's the exact siren we have. Piercingly loud ambient construction noise. The large speakers bark like the hit series MASH, but it says rocket attack, rocket attack. You hit the deck as soon as you hear that noise, and you cover your head, just like we see here. And you wait for about 2 minutes. After that, you get up and you dart to one of these ubiquitous bunkers that we talked about, and that can be your temporary shelter for up to hours. Now, until you hear the sound of, this is the JDOC, all clear, all clear. Now, rocket attacks are a very common part of Kandahar airfield. In fact, we've had as many as 5 in any given day. And these rocket attacks typically do not hit critical areas because they're not guided. They just shoot them into the sky and hope they land somewhere and try to hurt someone. But what they did is they really led to some serious injuries and loss of limb. But mostly these attacks serve as an annoyance and to distract our day-to-day activities. And the bunkers and blast walls, as you can see, are everywhere. But it was just really an imminent reminder of your imminent danger that you were in every day. And you forget about it once in a while. Regrettably, there's very little time between the time you hear the siren, you have seconds to hit the deck, or else you may be one of the casualties. And I want to share a story with you. This is 1 week after I got there. This is Kandahar Airfield, where an orthopedic colleague and I, Joe Carney, where we were taking our usual casual stroll in the evening of the night in a dusty alley, down to one of the dining facilities. And just to show you where we were, this is the Roll 3 Hospital, this is the NATO barracks where I live, and this is where we were here. And we were walking to the dining facility that was near the coupon. Don't ask me why I picked that one. However, as we were walking there, it was in a dark night, and of course, there it was, we heard it, we saw it, we hit the deck. Holy crap, it blew up about 100 meters from us. We actually felt the heat and heard the thud and boom and the flash. We hit the deck and we covered our heads, and then we heard the ambulance. And silently we looked at each other and gave a silent nod. We knew that there were casualties. We got up, and remember, the ground. We got up in our full combat gear and ran as fast as possible through the night, tripping over everything, into rocks, for a mile away. We were drenched in sweat, and we got to the Roll 3 hospital, and there was no one there. Everyone was still in the bunkers. They did not know that casualties were coming. So we wake everybody up saying, get over here, let's get to the hospital, there are casualties coming, and then they start coming.